The Richest Man in Babylon is a book written by George Clason in 1926 that is famous for the various personal, financial advice given through a collection of parables set 4,000 years ago. In this video, we will talk about some of that financial advice and how it can also teach us the way to wealth in this modern time. So stay tuned because most of the ideas in the book seem to be common sense, but it does not mean that they are also a common practice. So make sure to watch the video till the end. This is Financial Intellect, where we promote that to be finance savvy, we are your buddy. Now let's get right into the video. Lesson 1. Reward yourself first. Make sure to give yourself 1 coin for every 10 coins you acquire. Before you spend anything else, set aside at least 10% of your earnings for investing, regardless of how much you make. In the book, there's an analogy between expense and slavery. It is a powerful way to illustrate how your expenses enslave you to work for someone else. If you make $3,000 per month and pay $1,000 in rent, it implies you work for your landlord for 10 days. If you pay $200 to your insurance company, then you slave 2 days for them, and so on. That is how the majority of us end up paying everyone but ourselves. Now, some of you might argue that saving 10% for investment is excessive, but consider the following scenario. Let's imagine you go to work tomorrow and your supervisor informs you that the company is in a dire situation and that you must either be fired or accept to work for 10% less pay. I'm sure you'll be furious and you'll whine for a while, but you won't quit your work. After a while, you'll become used to the new circumstance and won't notice the difference in your quality of life. Personally, I believe that you don't have to start with 10%. You could even start with 3 or 5%. The most important thing is to begin with a small amount so that you can begin to strengthen your saving muscles. Another effective analogy is to think of every dollar you save and invest as if it were a new soldier. You add another soldier to your army who will fight day and night to capture another soldier to work for you. In addition, the freshly captured soldier will strive to capture another soldier. This procedure will continue. However, if you begin spending, you will begin killing our warriors. Now, I'd like to share my thoughts on this lesson. Many who read the book begin saving 10% and investing for the long term, relying on the technique to help them become wealthy. I used to do the same thing, but I eventually stopped because of this reason. When you invest in the long run, compound interest takes a long time to pay off, and the majority of the benefits come from your later years when you are already elderly. But do you want to be wealthy when you're only 65? I'm not arguing that saving 10% and investing for the long term is a bad idea. No, it works and is a terrific way for many people. However, if you're young and want to get rich quickly, saving 10% and investing for the long term may not be the best option. That's why I quit investing in the long run and started putting my 10% savings into business instead. Lesson 2. Take action and create your own luck. Chances come in the shape of opportunities that you must seize at a proper time. The lucky ones are the men of action who are fast to seize opportunities and make the most of them. When it comes to making decisions, procrastination only leads to regret. Doers and procrastinators each had the same number of opportunities, but what distinguishes them is the number of possibilities they pursue. By the time the gap between them widens, the procrastinator begins to believe that the doer was born into the appropriate family, had a bright mind, and so on. I was talking to a friend a few weeks ago, and we got into a discussion about a book called Think and Grow Rich, which we have a video on. You should check it out. He told me that he has seen many people buy and read this book, but no one has ever become wealthy as a result of it. He was attempting to demonstrate that the ideas in this book are ineffective, which I disagree with. I am convinced that people don't get wealthy because they don't take action. They read the book, utter some affirmations, visualize their goals, and that's all they do. They don't even bother to buy a lottery ticket, even though they hope to win $1 million from the lottery. Now, I'm not suggesting that you buy a lottery ticket to get wealthy. I've never purchased a lotto ticket in my life. However, even if your goal is to win the lottery, you must take action by purchasing a lottery ticket. Many individuals believe that if they envision themselves living a wealthy life, money would appear on their doorstep. When this does not occur, they claim that it is impossible to get wealthy, which is nonsense. Take action if you want to be fortunate and wealthy. Lesson 3. Only listen to experts. In the book, There was a man who invested his money in the overseas jewel traders with the promise of bringing back rare jewels for a low price. However, it turned out he was duped and was given false jewelry instead. If you ask me, I believe that relying on specialists is insufficient. Before you meet with an expert, you must first learn about the industry and conduct your study. My own experience has taught me 3 important lessons concerning experts, particularly in the financial field. First, experts are people who are employed and compensated by a corporation. So whose interests will they defend? Mine or the firm that pays their salary? This is why I'm usually dubious of what they're offering me, because it's usually in the company's best interests and not mine. Second, anytime some experts tell me that this is the best product to invest in, I constantly inquire as to whether they have personally invested in it. The majority of the time, I discover that they haven't even invested in it. So remember, the best investment possibilities don't even require advertisements. Most of the time, it won't even leave the workplace. When a real estate business or one of its employees discovers the best property, he does not go to the internet to inform everybody. They buy it themselves. And lastly, it's about the fees. Fees eat away at your profits, especially in the long run. However, fees are frequently introduced as a minor concern. They normally say it's only a 1% fee and so on, and that it's not much or that it's not a big deal. But keep in mind that it adds up over time. Now, before we move on to the next lesson, if you love content such as this, kindly give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so that you will know when we've posted new videos. We'd love to be part of your financial journey. Lesson 4. Don't allow greed to cloud your judgment. There's a distinction to be made between having huge aspirations and allowing them and greed to influence your decisions. When greed takes over, you begin to believe irrational things and ignore reality. You are so desperate to be right that you cease questioning. Crazy things have been done before, but it doesn't mean you should believe someone who promises you extraordinary returns. That is just a ruse. If you look at successful investors like Warren Buffett, you'll notice that they invest quite conservatively. They would rather build steadily than rush into a potentially dangerous chance. Lesson 5. Strive for a steady cash flow. Many people fantasize about inheriting money or winning the lottery. However, whatever lump sum of money you win will eventually return to zero, leaving you broke. Many people who get a big sum of money spend it all within a year. You've seen folks who follow a rigorous diet and lose a significant amount of weight in a short amount of time. However, because they did not acquire the right habits, they eventually revert to their prior shape and diet. The most bizarre aspect is that most people who suddenly become wealthy are no better off than they were before. Surprisingly, their dress, standard of living, and everything else are the same. Learning to ride a bicycle is similar to being wealthy. It is impossible to forget once you have learned it, and no one can take it away from you. So strive for a steady cash flow instead of wishing for a lump sum of money. Lesson 6. Invest in your ability to make more money. What exactly does this imply? It implies that you should devote your time to enhancing your abilities, education, and earning potential. This is one of the golden rules. However, it is frequently disregarded. When people graduate from school, most of them stop learning while others continue to learn until they are 80 years old. They continue to learn and improve. This provides them with a significant time advantage. After work, the average worker returns home to watch television. He makes no effort to better himself. And those are the 6 lessons we can learn from the richest man in Babylon. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think they are still applicable today, knowing that the book was written almost a century ago? Let us know in the comment section below. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And with that, thank you very much for watching. If you like what you've watched, stay tuned for more videos. Bye, financial buddies!